everybody. Welcome back to Childcare Confidential. I am Jessica Hampton, one of your co-hosts, and my amazing co-host, Katie Dink, is unfortunately not with us today. So you get me. And that could mean a lot of interesting things, actually. So just hang in there. But first, I want to address just a couple of things that has kind of come to our attention over the last few weeks. Yes, I have seen that there are a lot of new podcasts starting in the childcare world and focusing on childcare. And my opinion on that, because I know you wanted to know, is that that is just fabulous news. We are excited that more and more people are starting podcasts. We are excited that more and more people are bringing awareness to early childhood. And we absolutely look forward to and partnering with those other podcasts that are starting. So I think in our field, a lot of times people get into this competition mode. And I know it's especially like that in the county where our childcare centers are. It's kind of unbelievable, y'all. But there's no need to compete with each other like that. We are all working to bring awareness to early childhood. We are all working together in different forms. So let's just keep doing it. Let's encourage people. Let's encourage people to keep talking about it, whether that's through a podcast or however they creatively want to do it. But I am all for it. Like, more power to you. I'm excited. Make sure to talk to us and get us on your show so we can collaborate together as well. I think that that's exciting. And so I'm very excited to hear the new podcasts that I have heard will be coming out soon on a couple different ones. So we are excited. We will be tuning in, supporting our fellow childcare podcasters. So just wanted to put that out there. Today we're going to talk a little bit about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I actually started writing a book several years ago, a couple years ago. And the book is titled From Sacrifice to Sunshine. And so don't steal my title because it's not done yet, but that is the title, From Sacrifice to Sunshine, because I think it's important that people see our sacrifice sometimes, to know what we've walked through to get where we are. And I think sometimes we focus so much on the amazingness of social media and how everybody's life is just so great on social media, right? And we don't talk about the sacrifices that we made to get where we are. So in our culture at our school, I think that it is important that we share our foundation, our beginning story. And actually, I was just at Disney Employee Engagement for a training there. And they talked about this too. You need to share your foundation. Where did you come from? What is the why for your school, for what you do? What is your why personally? So I'm just going to read to you some little excerpts from the book that I had written. Again, it's not out there yet, but I wanted to use it as an example today to kind of share my why and what my sacrifice was. I tell my employees, my team, I hate the word employees and all of that. I tell my team all the time that what we went through, so that they know, like, it just didn't appear one day. It was a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice to get to the sunshine that we are at. When we're there. We're in Indiana, so things are a little tough, but we got some good news coming. Hopefully, Indiana, hang in there. We're sticking with it. So chapter 1 is called The Beginning. So I'm just going to read you a little excerpt and then we'll talk about it. The beginning. Okay. I know that you want to get the juicy tidbits that I'm going to share from this book. But first, we must start with my why. And that starts in the beginning. Many of you may not know my unique beginning. I actually was a very troubled teenager. Like, y'all, I don't even know how my parents dealt with me. I truly just don't even know. Love them very much. They had a lot to deal with. Thankfully, not all of your children behaved the way you did as a child. So we were blessed in that way. But I started to get my life on track when I was about 16 years old. And oops, my boyfriend, now husband, and I found out that the flu wasn't actually the flu. It was actually a beautiful, bubbly little girl who would change our world forever. We rushed to the altar, wanting to give our little girl the best possible outcome that we could. She arrived 6 days after my husband's 17th birthday. 3 weeks after our wonderful, bubbly little girl was here, we packed up our home in Michigan and we moved to Indiana, where TJ would work for his dad's company. And our lives were definitely crazy at this point. Looking back, though, I am so proud of us. We never lived with anyone. Got married at 16, subleased our house or our apartment, had to convince people that we didn't need a co-signer for anything because we didn't want to ask people to co-sign for us. We didn't drive the best cars, have the nicest things. And honestly, date nights, we're driving backwards through the Taco Bell drive-thru because our driver's window just wouldn't roll up and down for us. But we were making it, and we were doing it on our own. We were making it on $7 an hour. That's what my husband made when we got married at 16. $7 an hour. And with all my lovely health stuff, of course, I was a high-risk pregnancy and not able to work. But we were making it. It was ours. It was our life. We had finally arrived in Indiana. TJ wanted me to have the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom like his mom was. He had such great memories from his mom being able to stay at home with him and his siblings. But honestly, those memories were too much for me to compete with. I had just moved states at 17 years old. I had no one but his dad and stepmom. And I was so lonely. I couldn't stand it. I needed a mission. We had just begun a new church in Indiana. And in the Sunday program or bulletin that they would pass out each week, there was an advertisement that they needed a preschool teacher. Well, I've always loved children and education, so why not? Well, I was only 17, and I had no idea even if I was qualified. After all, I just got my GED because my credits didn't align to graduate high school when we moved to Indiana. But I didn't let that stop me. I inquired about the position. Y'all, this is where leadership is so important, because the director at that church ministry preschool, Kelly, she was a godsend to me at the time when I needed it. Not only did she hire this very inexperienced girl who had so much to learn, but she made a way for me to go to college during nap time, 3 days a week. She took our daughter home at least once a week so that I could have time for just me and my husband. And she even shortened my hours so that I could take my husband to work, drop our daughter off at her childcare because she was too young to come to the preschool that I worked at, and then make it to the preschool, which took me about an hour drive in the morning and an hour drive at night to make happen. And we had one car because, well, we were just making it, right? And that car, y'all, it was a classic old minivan with the wood paneling on the side. You had to warm it up for 30 minutes before we would even put our daughter in the car. It was crazy, but we made it work. And she was a godsend, making sure that I wasn't just successful for her mission, her job at the school, but that I was successful in life. And honestly, it took years for her to see that all that she had invested in me had actually paid off, because it took me a long time to finish school, like a long time. Like 17 years to get an associate's degree, y'all, because I was doing one class at a time. Again, we were making it, not asking for help. So I paid my way through college one class at a time, but we made it eventually. I worked at the Register Ministry for a long time. It really made a huge impact on our family and our life. That Register Ministry had closed down for some time, but it's back open today, so that's exciting. So after I had left the ministry, preschool, I had moved to a licensed childcare center. If you could see my face right now, you would know that that was nothing like I had experienced or expected. My last experience was really good, obviously. So the art of caring for people was not lost on me. But the experiences at both schools, completely opposite. Let me explain. I worked really hard at the new school during 9/11. I was in a classroom by myself. We all remember what we were doing on 9/11, right? When the country changed forever. I didn't even know that it had happened. While everyone was watching the news to see what was happening and all huddled around the TV, no one had even told me 9/11 was happening until my husband called and made sure that someone let me know that it was happening. Like, major event, and I'm in a classroom having a birthday party instead of knowing what's going on. That was my first kind of red flag. Well, we also had a car hit our house while I worked at this preschool, the licensed preschool. So the police officer had to come to the school and get me. Talk about having a police officer walk into a childcare center and ask for you by name. You're a little freaked out. But he came and got me. There was a whole wall missing from the front of my house because a car drove off the road into it. And thankfully, we weren't home. Everybody was safe, but we had to find a place to live. So I explained to the childcare director what was going on. She's still the childcare director there today. But I explained what was going on. I explained, obviously I'm not lying because the police came into the school to find me because I lived around the corner from the school. And I was told that if I did not come back the very next day, then I would no longer have a job. I bet you can guess how that went. Bye. What? I was told that my husband could handle our living arrangements by himself. Absolutely, he can. But it kind of affects me a lot because we had to live in a hotel for at least 6 weeks after this happened with a 1-year-old. So the difference in having that manager that really, truly, truly cared for me at the ministry preschool was not what I had at the licensed childcare. They did not care about me at all. Now, I'm not saying that this is every licensed childcare. I'm just not saying names because I don't feel like that should be part of the story. Obviously, our licensed childcare center makes sure to treat people the right way. So that's very different. But it's not at all schools like this. It just brings back the point in that first chapter of this book that it is important to be a manager who can really, really excel at the art of caring for people. I have struggled with this a little bit. I don't know if you guys saw the episode from Beth Cannon, but she called me out on my leadership trauma. And so what I realized was my leadership trauma often made me tunnel vision. It made me go, go, go and solve all the problems. And that made me come off as really not very empathetic. And it became an issue in my life where I just had to focus on the next goal, the next thing that I needed to do, and check off that list. And that's not really the art of people. And that's what we really need is the art of people. So still learning how to be a great leader, walking through it every day, but it's something we all can improve on, right? But just like I started with the struggle of my life in this book that I was working on. I am telling you these things because we all face struggles, right? We all face things that if we share them, somebody else could learn from them, maybe, or maybe just feel like they're not alone because this field can feel pretty alone sometimes. So now that you've heard kind of some of my struggle from when I first started in the field, let's talk a little bit more about finding our identity. Because after I realized that I didn't choose to be that stay at home mom that my husband had had such a great experience with his mom, I chose to go to work because that's what I needed for me in my life. That came with a little bit of identity crisis and trying to figure out what my new chapter was going to be. So, my next chapter talks about identity, and we're going to go into a little bit about that right now. But I won't go into too much detail because I do want to leave some of this book for you to read. But it does continue to go into my identity, my journey, the ministry, and how that went, back in the day. And then how moving on went from being at a ministry to a licensed center. And then maybe a little bit into the COVID crisis that we had happened. And then some of the maybe legal battles that we had been through and health scares. So there is a lot when you look back at your life and your career, there is a lot that you should be writing down as you go because it is hard to look back and remember all of the details at times. So talking about going back to identity, my first email address was a rock star's wife at. It was a new chapter in my life, one that I never anticipated. You see, my husband, TJ, had spent several years in the corporate world, climbing the ladder, achieving the kind of success that many dream of. But one day he came to me with an idea that would change everything. He wanted to pursue his true passion of playing guitar for a living. At that moment, a whirlwind of emotion surged through me. On one hand, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride for my husband, whose talent and ambition had always inspired me. But on the other hand, a wave of fear washed over me. We had built a solid foundation together, a life rooted in stability and security, which to me is a huge deal, like most women. The thought of leaving all of that behind for the unpredictable world of music felt really draining. It felt daunting. What would our friends think? How would we pay our bills? Would this decision jeopardize everything we had worked so hard for? But as we often did, we navigated through the uncertainty together. We made sacrifices and adjustments, embracing the chaos that comes with chasing your dreams. I stepped into the role of a rock star's wife, a title that seemed glamorous on the surface, but came with its own set of challenges. Every new friend group we encountered was filled with musicians, artists, the creative souls, each of them brimming with talent and ambition. I found myself surrounded by a vibrant world of music, yet I couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider. And then the question arose. Can you sing? Do you play an instrument? Each inquiry felt like a reminder of my own inadequacy, a constant echo of TJ's wife that overflowed my own identity. It was as if my name had just been erased altogether, replaced by a title. Who was I? Who truly was I? I began to spiral into a quest for self-discovery, a journey to unearth the essence of my identity beyond the label that everybody else was giving me. During this time of soul searching, I dove deep into my passions and interests, exploring the talents that had long been dormant within me. To my surprise, I uncovered a wealth of skills that I never knew I possessed. I realized I had a knack for leadership, an entrepreneurial spirit that thrived on creativity. And I never thought I was creative. And I had a desire to teach and inspire others. I immersed myself in different projects, taking on roles that challenged me and allowed me to grow. And as I stepped out of the shadows, I began to embrace my own journey. The world opened up as I transformed from just TJ's wife into a multifaceted individual, an entrepreneur, a coach, a mentor, an organizational queen. I started to carve out my own space in vibrant tapestry of musicians and artists, finding my unique voice that didn't have to be singing and a different perspective. In the end, the journey was not just about supporting my husband's dreams. It became a path to rediscovering myself. I had learned that our identities are not defined by the titles we wear or the people we're associated with, but by the passions we pursue and the impact we make. I was ready to embrace the complexity of who I was beyond the label, fully alive and thriving in my own right. That is a snippet of chapter 2, talking about identity. And I bring that into our conversation today only because I really feel like once you find your why, it helps shape your identity and who you want to become. So it is really important whether you're a teacher in the classroom, whether you're a director, an assistant director, an office manager, a team support person, a kitchen person, a greeter, a bus driver, who knows what, no matter what you're doing in this field, you need your why. Is your why a stepping stone to your next journey, which we do often see in this field? Is your why because you want to make a difference? Well, how are you going to make that difference? Let your why shape your identity. And then you can truly, truly be devoted to it. So I hope today really helped you kind of learn a little bit more about me. So today I hope that this podcast really reflected with you and helped you to learn a little bit more about me, and that not all of us just decide that we're going to open a childcare center one day. There actually is a lot of sacrifice that goes into it. And that's before we even get to finding the building or the place or the room. We have to find out who we are, our why, and shape our identity. And then we can start having to paint shelves and finding buildings and stuff. But it all starts with the foundation, your why. Tune in next week. Hopefully we will have Katie back with us soon. Send her some love if you know her personally. And we will chat soon. Have a great week, everybody, and look forward to talking to you some more.